good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Star Trek episode review. We are here tonight talking about Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 6, Lost in Translation. I'm Mage Rage, your host with the most, and it wouldn't be a Trek episode review on NerdTube without my Trekkies in arms and two of the finest Trekkies I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. Down below me is Star Trek shitposting woke admins, the artist formerly known as Cousin Cheeto. How are you tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm here for some good old fashioned hallucinogen alien mayhem.
Was it alien spores? Who knows? We'll find out during the recap. And to my right, we have Haram the Baker. How are you this sinful evening?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm here to give you bacon laced muffins from an ex Muslim. Enjoy.
I mean, you can't beat that. Bacon wrap muffin sounds great. That should be our new sponsor. So an interesting episode this week. Back to kind of some of the, hey, here's a science problem, but at the end it's revealed to be like that. And for the bulk of the episode, it's kind of a psychological horror and kind of character analysis focusing on Uhura. I thought it was an interesting kind of style of episode, but at times, especially during the first viewing, it struggled to hold my attention. What were you guys' overall thoughts of this week's installment?
Before we jump into that, I'm just going to bring up a comment or two. Dana Van says, "Had a rough night praying to the porcelain throne. I have no notes for this episode. Don't fire me. Hey, we're just glad you're here. Every single time, we're just glad you're here.
I might be on that throne soon too. I've had a lot of spicy food and a lot of laxatives.
Well,
and so far I'm keeping it together.
And to that note, Dana Van says, I would eat Zam's bacon-laced muffins any day of the week.
Oh, you damn right. Thank you so much, dude. Much appreciated.
And then Dixie says, Zam, you smell like birds.
Oh,
Apparently
thank you, dude. I've been trying to coax Juicy to pop into my mouth, but she's not having it. Okay.
Juicy or kumquat?
Juicy. And he's not kumquat. His name is Icarus.
Oh, no. It's kumquat.
The kumquat, I'll be honest with you, not kumquat. So Jesus Christ, you made me say it. Icarus, by the way, Icarus, his species of bird doesn't have that mouth-watering appeal like Juicy does and Brutus had, and all of that. He doesn't seem to be, he doesn't look very tasty to me. So I'm not going to be trying to eat him anytime soon.
All right, Mage, take it back. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good. It's good to know that you're not going to eat your bird. So then, I mean, if you did that, you'd probably constantly smell like bird, or at least for a day or two.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to just jump right into the play-by-play. If I'm going to try to move quickly, if there's any particular scene that you want to talk about in more detail, have a bug up your butt about something, or particularly like a moment, just stop me. And just stop me every once in a while so we can get to the chat.
Oh, by the way, you never asked me my opinion of the episode.
No, we didn't do that. Yeah, no.
I mean, you didn't ask me either. I just did the chat, but that's okay.
Nope. We got to get overall thoughts. I said my piece. You guys need your chance. We'll start with you, Zam.
Well, this for me was ended up being one of your standard, and I will say standard because we have seen episodes like this in the past from previous shows. Unique alien, you're fucking them over type scenario, and you need to stop. And we've been there before, and and I'm thinking with Star Trek, we've been there before with so many variations of things, and this is no different either. But the execution was interesting. Not sure how I felt about the subplot regarding Una and Hocus Pocus, but overall, it was an okay episode.
Yeah, I wasn't digging that B plot either. Just not really digging her as a character. Cheeto, what about you, sir?
makes me miss Hammer.
Yes. All they did constantly is like, man, you're supposed to like Pelia, but do you remember Himmer? Man, did
I was gonna
Himmer
say
rule compared to her?
they just need this Shax Hammer, man. I don't care how he comes back.
Yeah.
Just bring him back. Like, just off screen it, man. I don't care. Just Shax it, like no, this was a pretty good episode. I like Uhura. I like the actress who plays Uhura a lot. So she's doing a really good job, and it was good that she had the focal point in this episode. The Una, and as Zam warmingly calls her, Hocus Pocus. I still just don't like this character. I do not like this new engineer. It's not because I liked Hemmer that much. I am okay with the new chief engineer. I'm just not okay with this one. Like this one's just annoying, and she sounds like she's got looking for Mike Wazowski. Like so it's just like but I'm definitely going to take marks off on this episode for originality. I know that this is your standard Trek episode, discover as Zam said, like discovering some non-corporeal being that we're hurting because we're mining this thing that they live in, and yeah, I mean, it just, so I'm definitely going to give it like a C or D for originality, because honestly, the thing that saved this episode was Uhura being too damn black, apparently, according to Ginger, which I'm okay with. Her being black, that is. And I honestly kind of enjoyed seeing Kirk, and I was really ready to be really negative on this episode. Wow, it's almost like Jim Kirk is always around the Enterprise, because he's eventually going to be on the Enterprise. But I'm like, well, they got to get their money's worth out of this actor, and I'm like, I just couldn't knock it, because it was really good seeing Kirk and Sam together. And so yeah, that was my overview.
No, really valid points, and I feel like Jim Kirk and the current actor, they're growing on me in this iteration.
Well, I mean, you have nowhere to go but up from William Shatner. I'm sorry, but
no, you're absolutely correct, and I'm glad that we can maybe unmarry the role and like the concept of the character of Kirk from the Shat, and kind of take it back, if that makes any sense. But we'll get right to it now. We start with Uhura's log. The Enterprise is in Bannon's Nebula at the edge of explored space. It's deuterium rich, so Starfleet is building a refinery here. On the bridge, Uhura's nodding off as the captain talks about, how this is the jumping off point for a new age of exploration. We learned that Uhura hasn't been sleeping much lately. Pike's been put in command of the Farragut and the refinery, making him a fleet captain. So Spock postulates that they might be, Starfleet's chosen this location, not only for the richest.
I just want to say that we never really found out what was keeping Uhura up late all this time in the first place. I mean, maybe you guys knew what it was. It totally went over my head. Why was she fucking staying up late all the bloody time?
I believe she's having trouble sleeping because of Hemmer's death. They made a point of saying for the last year. And
really, it took up to 6. It took up to episode 6 of season 2 for this to be an issue. Like
this episode could have happened a lot earlier in the season.
Yeah,
and it makes sense a little bit better.
This should be episode 2. This should be episode 2. I mean, without a doubt, in my opinion, this is an episode 2 episode, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I agree. So Spock thinks that Starfleet's chosen this location because of the proximity to Gorn's space. Once again, the Federation has all this idea about the Gorn in this timeline, whereas in the original timeline, they had never heard of the Gorn. Kirk had no idea what one was when he was fighting it. They open up the Bussard collectors so they can get some of this deuterium.
Before you go on to the next part, did anyone else think that this was going to be a Gorn episode? Because they mentioned the Gorn early in the episode. Like, I I was positive this was going to be some kind of like Gorn mental something weapon like that affects people, or like something like some kind of new Gorn weapon or something like that. I was seriously convinced it was going to be the Gorn in this episode.
I honestly, I wasn't thinking that. I mean, the Gorn never even crossed my mind. I had no idea what the fuck it was going to be.
I didn't either. I thought maybe androids or robots had something to do with it, just because of the digital sounding nature of the noise that she's going to start hearing.
No, it's okay. Let's just brush by it. I mean, I'm the only guy around here who thinks like.
No, we need you thinking about these odd details. We need it.
I mean, this is like kind of like a polar opposite to what happened in Discovery last season. Like, the Enterprise is the human beings or are the species that are destroying this race.
The galactic lawnmower.
Yeah, exactly. Whilst in Discovery, which is like basically the whole season of this episode, but in reverse. Yeah. Also, it reminded me of the hologram, the holographic episode where, on Voyager, where you had these hologram aliens, and the Doctor played president of Earth and all of that sort of shit. Remember?
Yes.
Kind of reminded me of that a little bit too.
Captain Proton episodes.
Yeah, and all of that, those sort of things. Daniel Vaughn says Pike finally got his promotion to fleet captain, the rank he holds when his accident occurs. Yeah, exactly. So basically, fleet captain means that if somebody needs a captain in the jiffy, he jumps to it. Wasn't he a fleet captain for Discovery in season 2?
He was just captain of the Enterprise.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough.
Because the Enterprise was in dry dock, they put him on Discovery to investigate the Red Angel.
Kirk is blowing back the. I don't know why the fuck am I reading Ginger shit. That sound was totally Decepticons transforming. No, you know what I was thinking. No. If you ever played No Man's Sky, and you're talking and you're talking to the aliens in No Man's Sky, that's what it sounded like.
Yes, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Okay, so Uhura thinks she's getting this weird robotic signal that sounds like the aliens from No Man's Sky, but she loses it and can't find any evidence of it. She heads down to one of the nacelles to calibrate one of the antennae as part of a diagnostic of the comm system.
Nacelle-heavy episode, man.
It was lots of stuff about the nacelles. I haven't seen such a nacelle-heavy episode since the catwalk on Enterprise.
On Enterprise,
No, but I think Kurtzman just generally his shows they're really into the nacelle shit. I've seen it in Lower Decks. I've seen it in Discovery. Seen it in this. So. Yeah.
I mean, nacelles have always been, even from the original series to the movies to Next Generation, like nacelles have always been an indication of the era that you're in. Like the original series, which had like the bobble at the end and the long, and then more of the sleek and straight nacelles from the movie era, and on the Miranda class and the Connie class and the Excelsior class. And then in TOS, you got like the flatter, more, I don't even know how to describe it, like a turd. I don't know.
A turd. All right, fair enough.
So when Uhura arrives in the nacelle and starts doing her diagnostic, she's watching a video that Hemmer recorded for her because and to teach her how to do this procedure, and she's watching it listfully when Pelia comes in and asks her what she's doing, and Uhura explains that she's calibrating this and that Hemmer made the video because she kept asking him to do it for her so many times. Pelia brings up that they've never talked and asks her why that is.
Because nobody fucking likes her, that's why.
Yeah, she's just setting off her pattern of bringing up what people's problem with her is this episode.
It wasn't the Enterprise antenna Uhura was thinking about. She wanted that Hemmer antenna again. Woo!
There are 2 of them.
Just like Klingons, they got two.
Regarding that new engineer, though, like she.
Oh God, I don't even want to waste time talking about her. Like she's
gonna be she's prominent in this episode for once in her life. You know what I mean? But like I just can't stand her voice. She sounds like she smokes all the time, and she comes across as somebody who lives off red wine. You know what I mean? So I just can't stand her, man.
Sounds like she eats cigarettes instead of smoking them.
Well, it's not even the sound of her; it's just the mentality of her and the way, and just the way they write her. And I mean, it's all around just bad. I don't like her. I mean, name a character in 6 episodes that deserves as much hate as she has gotten. This character, not the actress, the character.
I'm hard pressed.
Exactly. Even Gul Dukat had his redeeming qualities throughout the years. He was a good bad guy.
He was fun to hate.
Yeah, she would have been better as some sort of maybe ship counselor. I could buy it. As an engineer, no, I'm not buying it at all.
She's trying to be the counselor as she's the engineer, and they've shown us more of her trying to talk to people about their hang-ups than her doing
and the fact that she's
stuff.
Like she's like 500 million years old and she's been at Starfleet since the conception. She should be a fucking admiral by now, but no, she's a fucking shitty engineer.
Dana Van says Carol Kane is totally the same character she was in Princess Bride. I don't like they've knocked everything with Strange New Worlds out of the park. I just don't understand why they would go this route with this character.
Maybe we'll end up with the Enterprise on Strange New Worlds being like Discovery, but instead of a new captain every season, we'll get a new engineer every season until they find something that sticks.
I was thinking that. I mean, no, not something that sticks until fucking Scotty comes into play.
True.
Well, I mean, there were like three in TNG the first season. There were 3 chief engineers on the Enterprise before LaForge took over in season 2.
Yeah, from pilot to engineer, just like that.
So Pelia leaves and Uhura watches more of the video of Hemmer, and we get this touching moment where we see Hemmer's personality is revealed, and we're reminded of that he was a deep character with like facets and multiple aspects to him compared to this flat one-dimensional new engineer. So we cut to Pike telling Una that the refinery project is way behind, and that Una basically has to go clean up the old superintendent of the project's mess. On the turbo lift, Uhura hears that noise again without her communication earpiece in this time and sees a zombie Hemmer. And then we get the intro. In sick bay, the doctor tells her that she's hallucinating from deterior poisoning and exacerbated by lack of sleep. That's where I recognize her from. Daniel Vance's comment.
Okay, Miracle Max's wife in Princess Bride. Fair enough. See, look, for me, lack of sleep doesn't make me hallucinate. It means I'm dozing off. I'm not hallucinating. I'm dozing off. Lack of sleep doesn't make me see things.
You don't even need lack of sleep for you to doze off.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm getting old. But you know what I mean. I never understood about this hallucination shit.
It's presented as it's mostly from the deuterium poisoning, but it's being made worse because she's not sleeping well at all, if any. But lack of sleep long term can actually make people have pretty bad hallucinations. Starting with auditory ones.
Is like a young girl, isn't she? Though she's like in her early 20s in this. Would you say?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Ginger knows because Ginger stays up all night, with
the
MMH.
Well, at this stage in my life, Ginger, there's no chance I'll be staying up for 48 hours. I don't think I've ever stayed up for 48 hours. I've just done maybe up to about 30 hours, 32 hours. And I think, fuck this, I'm sleeping. Well, there's no chance I'll ever hit those marks ever again. You guys see me, man. You know what I mean? I fucking fall asleep in the fucking nightclub the way I am nowadays. So, yeah.
No. On the station, Una begins coordinating the repair efforts. Pelia says that the place is breaking down faster than the repair teams can fix it, and we see this friction pop up between the two that's going to become our B plot runner for this episode. In her quarters, Uhura can't sleep, and she sits up on the edge of her bed, and then she's outside somewhere seeing black smoke.
God, her pajamas look like a mix of her maybe either robbing a bank or being a line cook for Gordon Ramsay.
Is it just me, or did the outfit change when she was at the outside location?
I did not notice.
No, I didn't notice. I'll be honest with you.
That's what it felt like to me. Maybe I just didn't notice. 5 days.
A
Wow.
clown floating in space. Last time we saw Uhura's bed in Star Trek, Kirk was a Kirk under it. Yeah, I thought maybe Kirk and Uhura might get it on, but then again, maybe
I know. I really hope they don't do that. That changes the dynamic there, and I just don't want it.
We already have one too many ships happening, and they're about to ship on with Jim. Speaking of, he beams onto the Enterprise in the transporter room and is greeted by his brother. He offers a tour, and Jim says as long as it ends at the bar. They wind up there, and they end up talking, and we find out that Sam is upset about his brother getting, a promotion and becoming the
He's
first
jealous, isn't he?
He's jealous of his brother being the youngest first officer ever, beating their dad's record, and basically, ensuring that Sam is never going to, impress his father as much as Jim has.
Jim, I got to call him by his first name. I hate doing that, but Jim has to tell Sam, look, I'm doing something which requires me to maybe go up the ladder a lot quicker than you will. You're a fucking science officer. You're wallowing in science. That's not really necessarily a career choice that will make you fly up the ranks. I mean, you can get promoted. You can be an admiral as a science officer and all of that, but it's doing what he's doing that's going to make him, achieve a higher rank at a quicker level, I guess. So
no, you're absolutely right. People in command seem to move up to command positions, which just kind of goes to follow. I mean, you've got your exceptions, your T'Pol's and your Spock's are science officer first officers, but
they've got strings to their bow, haven't they? Like, Spock being a Vulcan and all of that. He's more than just a science officer, and he's still a science officer in this to a degree. But he's not even the first officer. That's Una.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Una is number one. Dana Van says, I have a theory that Spock will mind meld with Sam Kirk at some point, which brings about the brotherly love we see between Jim and Spock. Okay.
Well, they do. I'm not sure if there is much of a brotherly love between Spock and Sam. Sorry, between Kirk and Jim and Sam. They seem to be more bitter rivals.
Seems to me like Kirk and Spock are going to bond over hating Sam. Spock walks up at the end, is like, yeah, man, that guy pisses me the fuck off, too.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to when we finally see Dr. McCoy, because that's the trifecta there. And you got Kirk and Spock, Kirk and McCoy, they like each other for maybe being a couple of human guys who are like maybe a bit more down to earth and see things in a different level. Spock and Kirk, just that unique bond they have, and to a degree, a unique bond between Spock and McCoy. I mean, it's like a love-hate relationship. Like there's like it's almost like a mutual respect, and in a way that I want to hate this guy, but I like him. Like it's, and if anything, Spock doesn't hate McCoy whatsoever, and in a way, I think McCoy wants to hate Spock, but he can't. He genuinely can't. You know what I mean? So
it confuses him that he can actually like a Vulcan with his racist ass.
Yeah, exactly. So
before you move on, just one last one from Daniel Vance. I love that Spock cleaned the glasses Sam left on the table as he walked up and said that. I laughed so hard.
Oh, I must have missed that. Damn it.
Yeah, it's just like last week when he was screaming at him for not cleaning up after himself. Except it's back to the Vulcan reserved way of acting pissed the hell off.
I have to say, like,
Spock clean up Sam's mess, which is what you.
I'm a big fan of seeing Jim Carrey and Sam Rockwell playing Jim and Sam. funnily enough, in this, because that's when I see this actor who plays James T. Kirk, he reminds me of Jim Carrey. I'm expecting him to go really and all that sort of shit. And obviously,
He's spoken.
and Sam Rockwell, when Sam Kirk came when we first saw him and he walked onto the bridge and he went like that, I was thinking, Jesus Christ, that's Sam Rockwell from fucking Galaxy Quest. And the moustache and everything. Everything about them, just from with both those actors, they just remind me of those guys. So, yeah.
On the refinery, Pelia has disobeyed Una's orders and nosed around in systems that are working, but she thinks she's discovered sabotage in the fuel distribution system. We cut to Chapel and Spock playing three-dimensional chess, and that quickly becomes
that six-dimensional chess. I mean, there's so many levels.
Well, it has like the 6 or 7 tiers, but because it's got X-axis, Y-axis, and Z-axis, that's why people call it 3D chess.
Don't they call it 4D chess?
I didn't think so. I thought it was 3D chess.
Okay,
I think it's
fair enough.
3D chess.
Okay, fair enough.
But the game becomes a metaphor for them ending up talking about their relationship, trying to like pin down the exact nature of it and whether or not they should
shows you this cat as well.
Yep. And Chapel ends up making a metaphor likening the relationship to Schrodinger's cat, and says if they open the box and see what it is and let people see what it is, it might kill it, and she doesn't want that. Uhura walks up and she says, I don't think I've been hallucinating. It started before I was in the nacelle. Spock doubts her logic despite her argument of Occam's razor argument, and Chapel dismisses her as well. Uhura walks away and sits down at the bar where Kirk tries to start
by the way,
conversation.
That's the last we get of Spock and Chapel's relationship this episode. I'm kind of happy to agree, but at the same time, it could have been a little bit more, but fair enough. We'll see how it goes.
No, I don't want them to completely focus on Spock and Nurse Chapel. Yeah, I mean they'll probably get an episode down the line. But, But
good point.
I don't want them to be like they just got this whole episode last episode, and now they get a whole nother like meaty episode. No, like I like that they moved on, and we get little droplets here and there of it.
So Uhura thinks that Kirk is hitting on her, and I mean, I can see reading the situation.
Sure, can you just remind me again why the hell Kirk's on the Enterprise in the first place?
Because he's on the Farragut. He's there to hang out with his brother.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to become the first officer of the Farragut in like a month's time. So Uhura leaves, being thoroughly aggravated by Kirk, possibly hitting on her. She sees herself and begins to get attacked by herself. And in her struggle, she ends up hitting Kirk. She offers to take him to sickbay. He's like, do you want to explain what happened and get in trouble for striking a superior officer? And they go to her room where she conveniently has a dermal generator. They kind of talk. Kirk believes her, and he wants to help. And he comes up with the idea to go talk with the Farragut's doctor and see if there's been any similar cases to her as reported. On the station, Pelia, Una, and a security team presumably head down to the fuel system to try to find the saboteur. They find a Starfleet officer who's huddled down and rambling. He asks Una if she's real. His name is Ramon, and Una tries to comfort him a little bit. We get to Uhura sitting in her quarters again, and the ship goes on red alert. She rushes to the bridge where the view screen is shattered and everybody is spaced. She wakes up on the bridge where the captain goes, weren't you supposed to be on medical leave? And you go, why?
I saw Spock go out the window. I knew it was a fucking dream sequence.
Yeah. Why the captain ever allowed her to sit down at her station and start doing her job when he knew she was supposed to be on medical leave is beyond me. Why?
Well, the thing is that it seemed like everybody was like, I can see if somebody's hallucinating, not waking them up from the hallucination, like they say not to do that for some people. but it's like still like everybody was just kind of chilling and watching. Like you figure somebody would have like been standing by her to make sure she didn't hurt herself or anybody, or I don't know.
She sleepwalked to her fucking post, didn't she? Kind of.
I guess so. I didn't
yeah.
catch that, but now that you guys say it, it makes perfect sense. So Pike takes her to the ready room and begins speaking with her, and he tells her, that he wants to help her figure out what's going on. Jim Kirk, I have to specify, comes in and he says the Farragut's doctor had received a call about Lieutenant Ramon, and Pike talks with him, in sickbay, and they, Uhura and Ramon both hear the same noise. Ramon ends up stabbing the doctor and running out of the room. Kirk and Uhura give chase, and Pike and a security officer find another wounded crewmate after they run out with a head start. He's headed to engineering after cutting out the lights on the ship, making it harder for them to track him. We get Uhura hearing the signal again, and Jim offers to walk her back to sickbay, but she says no, she can make it herself. Insists that he continues the pursuit. We cut to Lon and Pike running into Jim Kirk, and she's unsettled by seeing him. Uhura finds a bloody handprint on a hatch to the nacelle access, and she calls and lets everybody know. Jim says to hang tight, that he will come and help her, that he's on the way, but she can't help herself, and she goes on in alone.
Disobeying orders, like typical Star Trek. Daniel Vance says, I watched Zam totally sleep talk on stream and donated because of it. We all love watching someone sleep talk. It's funny. You know what? I've actually heard myself sleeping and sleep talking, and I've heard myself. I've actually woken up by my own snores as well in the past. It's just so you know. But yeah, I would like to know what I said, Daniel Vance, but I'm always curious. Anyway, sorry.
No need for sorry. So Ramon sets off the fuel pod to explode and begins attacking Uhura. Kirk comes in at the last second and calls for an emergency beam out. The fuel pod explodes and the nacelle takes considerable damage. We cut to Pike explaining that the Enterprise has been almost disabled, that the doctor's in really rough shape, but he wants to figure out what's going on.
God, the doctor didn't seem that bad. All of a sudden, he's out.
I know. I thought it was weird that he was in surgery when he didn't seem like he got messed up that bad. Like, look like he just got cut his arm.
The same tool that fixed fucking Jim's nose could have fixed a bang. Is it a banger? Is that how you say his name?
Mbanga,
Mbanga.
Yeah.
Must have cut something in his digestive tract, which would release toxic.
I thought he got stabbed in the shoulder, but okay.
It looks like his gut to me. Cheeto?
I thought it was his shoulder. It looked like
okay.
Then, no, but I mean, I didn't see it that well. Like I was watching on my phone at that point, so I mean, it might have been
like a boss. Yeah.
So Lon finds Kirk waiting for Uhura outside sickbay, and they talk about how he knows Uhura, and long story. Kirk says that she asks if he's not, the type that can't walk away from a stranger. He tells about how his father got bounced around Starfleet. He saw his father spend time helping people who need it instead of being with his family, and that he justifies that by it must be super important to do that. Lon says that as somebody who was helped by Starfleet, it absolutely was. And Kirk reminds her of the drink that she owes him from that awkward call at the end of the one episode.
Admiral Teague. Yeah. And Banger, we should take his job this week. He's the worst. I mean, he did get stabbed, so he never really had a chance to do anything. But he was on commission after that. He's the worst, most unethical doctor Star Trek.
Why was he unethical? Like,
I was wondering when he's done it.
Like, I mean, it's not that we're saying you're wrong. We need references.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see what you're pointing out there. That
Oh,
could be a fun debate.
this one's for you, Mage. Hold on, we got a couple people actually in here. Welcome to the stream. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing.
That
dude's mustache is longer than my furniture.
Oh, future.
Or future. Sorry, future.
Yeah, and furniture
for you, Major Rage.
That's one hell of a list to look. I've actually tried to do that sort of style in the past. I can't pull it off. You know what I mean?
Hey, don't trample on Major Rage here.
No, I'm not trampling on it at all. If anything, I'm commending him. Because having a tash like that is it's very difficult to pull off. You know what I mean?
Johnny Lucifer, what's cracking, legends?
And me, actually, that's why you see me on mute all the time, because I'm ripping like a, like a busker in the London Underground. The only problem that Ahura was insomnia, and then when they could help her, we can cure insomnia with pills right now. No, but she was hallucinating.
She has the deuterium poisoning. That's the primary cause. The doctor just said it was exacerbated by her lack of sleep. Then Chapel kind of glosses over the poisoning, and trying to explain.
Yeah.
Even if you were hallucinating before, it could be from that. So I can kind of see what they're saying. Chapel seems to make out like it's just the sleep.
We are on Twitch as well, Chemo, but we this is our main bread and butter is YouTube. But we try to get our shit out and everything. That story was so poorly told. I do agree with Admiral. It wasn't like the most, like, we've had this sort of storyline done in the past, as we mentioned earlier, regarding unusual alien species that we are without realizing are fucking over. And I thought this one was, I not necessarily told the best, but I did feel that the explanation when it came to all the hallucinations and stuff, I thought that was, that payoff was done pretty well, in my opinion. So
agreed. On the refinery, Pelia and Una are bickering. Una saying that her problem with Pelia is her lack of discipline, calls her a space hippie. Pelia gets angry and says that Una is hiding behind order because she can't stand it when she's not the smartest person in the room, and can't stand it when somebody wants to do something other than Una's suggestions or orders.
I mean, but the thing is that the hierarchy is in place for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, James Kirk disobeyed direct orders and saved the entire Earth from the humpback whale chatting probe. I get it, but it's like, in this instance, it's like, like, I don't know. I mean, if everybody just did their own thing and just was like, well, I'm a space hippie, like,
an organization as big as Starfleet can't work without the hierarchy, without the chain of command.
Yes.
Okay, a comment here from Admiral. No one else is affected. Chapel can't give out as much as melatonin. Who cleared the sleep-deprived person to work on the bridge? If not, well, they were actually told not to work on the bridge, and Banga said not to, but she herself, because she's Uhura was defining orders in various ways in this episode, and at one point she ended up on the bridge, to the bemusement of Pike, who thought that she wasn't supposed to be there. She was like almost sleepwalking to the bridge.
So
hold on. I'm sorry, Mage. Wait, this next comment coming up here. This is a good point that I meant to bring up. Then they gave her a phaser. The lady who's hallucinating, and is hearing things, and they gave her a phaser. They're walking on the hallway, both with phasers. I'm like, what is happening here?
I wanted to bring that up.
Good point.
Very good point.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Yeah, I kept wondering why they even let her leave medical at one point, and that she was having hallucinations. She believed she was under the influence of an alien. Yeah, and I'll tell you this: when it came to the scenes with her in it from her point of view, I couldn't tell when she was hallucinating and when she wasn't, which made it quite interesting, to tell you the truth. I liked when Kurt apologized for getting punched. Yeah, well, he's a good guy, isn't he?
The character Kirk, not so much.
Well, this Kirk is different than Pineskirk from the Kelvin universe. So
Thank God.
he's not as rebellious because he was brought up differently.
So we cut to Uhura's quarters where Kirk and her are watching Ramon's logs. They were having the same hallucinations, and if the timing's to be believed, Uhura could be as little as a day and a half away from being in the same shape. Their brain scans are even showing the activity elevated in the same areas, the language center. Um, Kirk tries to cheer her up with humor, bringing up cookies. And
he brought one in cookie. It was a big one.
he ends up bringing her a big ass fresh cookie.
Yeah.
That would cheer me up. Maybe not if I was hallucinating, but
When
for something more minor,
cookie,
a big ass cookie would cheer me up considerably.
I thought the cookie talk was a bit stupid personally, because it's just stupid just generally. But when he was going on about the cookies, I thought to myself, Uhura must be hallucinating. She must be hallucinating. But no, it was for real. When Uhura tells Jim that she's afraid of death, I fully expected to hear Jim's
Wrath of Khan.
quote?
Wrath of
Wrath of
Khan.
Khan. How to deal with death is at least as important as how to deal with life, wouldn't you say?
Maybe this is one of those times when he's learning about that and will help synthesize that wisdom for down the road. But that's probably just Daniel Vance is being smarter than the people who write this stuff again and knowing more about Trek than they do.
I mean, Daniel Vance is smarter than all of us. Let's be real. I mean,
put together.
Yeah, right.
Okay, where am I? My notes.
And at no point, we've got another comment here. At no point in that episode do we know what's real. That whole episode can be disregarded. Nothing truly happened. Oh, we got. I mean, we did. I mean, look. Initially, as I said earlier, I had no idea if the cookie thing was real, but it just seemed so bizarre. But it turned out to be real. A lot of things. After a while, it was easy to understand what was real and what wasn't.
Yeah. After.
Sorry, just to add, because we saw the explanation for Uhura's understanding the hallucination, so we knew what was real and what wasn't, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
You were gonna say Cheeto?
No, I was just gonna say I understand we have a lot of comments coming in. That's great. We're gonna put those on not hold for a minute, but we're gonna give you a little space to keep on going, Mage. You've kind of been stuttered. We've kind of stopped you a lot. So
no, it's fine. I'm much more interested in hearing what the chat has to say and engaging with them than hearing my own voice.
That's the Golden Glasses award-winning host right there. Major Rage for you.
Admiralty probably about maybe third or fourth, but it's not about the order. It's just about the bizarreness. I mean, she thought she was being attacked by herself.
I thought this was going to be like an Inception episode where she was like multiple.
I mean, we had a weird noise and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the Shrike was going to come out of that nebula at that point.
Good one.
Yeah, I agree, but you could tell. Look, talking about cookies is one thing. Seeing dead bodies and being attacked by by somebody that looks exactly like you, and seeing your crewmates be flying out of a window is another.
Cat.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
All right, go ahead, Mage.
All right. So we get the reveal. Uhura kind of opens up and tells Jim that ever since her family died a few years tragically in a shuttle crash, that she's had trouble. She has been seeing things that weren't there. She's been hallucinating for years, apparently, and this is just more of the same.
This is where I find this is where I'll start to call bullshit. So if Admiral Teague had any issues with this episode, it was from this moment onward, as far as I was concerned. I mean, this was fucking stupid. Like, we all go through tragic situations. A great song by REM, Everybody Hurts at some time. We all go through tragic shit in our lives. It's inevitable, but we do move on. We genuinely do. We can't be in sorrow forever. Time is a healer. We do move on. All of us do. We all lose our parents, a friend, a loved one. It happens to all of us, and we have to move on. You know what I mean? We can't live with it forever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's basically, what Kirk ends up telling her. And, that is she can't face death, like the deaths of her family, the death of Himmer, that being in Starfleet where you're faced with death every day on your job, you might, might not be able to do that job. That you can't let death win the fight. You got to fight back. Uhura watches Himmer's video again, and she catches a line where he warns her to not burn out the receiver, and this gives her a revelation. We have the ha-ha moment, the key
Me
phrase
too.
leads to the
Oh my
revelation.
god,
I love it.
cliche.
Oh
I
yeah.
know.
So the speech center of her brain is burning up. Something is trying to communicate with her. So they go to Sam because he's a xenoanthropologist. He's got a theory that he's heard that extra-dimensional beings can break into our dimension and then bind themselves onto normal atoms and normal elements. Uhura, explains like kind of how the UT uses core concepts and ways of processing information and thinking about the world that seem to be common between all species, and in saying that aliens must be using her brain as a universal translator, that the signal gets sent and gets processed by her language center into visions. It's the vocabulary that they're trying to use. So Uhura begins to analyze the visions, and with a degree of accuracy like of that of an expert analyst, she
Well, she is a
expertly
translator
she
as
yeah
well.
she
So, I
reads
gave
the
her a pass on
symbols.
this.
That's language.
Yeah,
Some languages are very much like interpreting symbols. So
yeah.
good point there. Um, but she determines that they are killing this entity or these creatures somehow by trapping them inside the fuel pods and the refinery. When they pull the deuterium in, they have to stop the refinery. They call Kirk as they rush to the bridge, but on the station has been started about 5 minutes ago, and the on the station the auto shutdowns won't work. Uhura,
By the way, I just think I've realised that we hardly spoken about Una and fucking Hocus Pocus.
Nobody cares.
You know,
I mean, I
okay,
care about Una. I don't care about Hocus Pocus.
fair enough.
All right, let's run through a couple of these comments really
Yeah.
quick since we had a smidge of a break. So Admiral says, at no point in this episode do we know what's real. That whole episode can be disregarded.
We already read that. We already read
okay.
that.
So then, how many
No,
hallucinations?
read that.
You did that
Read
one?
that. No, we're on
Okay.
this one. Let me do it.
Okay.
Unless you're in Benga, then you keep your keep alive in spite of ethics, so you don't have to feel bad. I'm not sure what you're trying to get at there, mate.
I think he means your kid. I think he means his daughter.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And that is his daughter, and sometimes when it comes to our children, we don't think logically. We think emotionally. Transmission redirected through my disarray. Sorry for the disruption.
You guys,
No problem.
I was just saying, let's take a break from the comments just for a second, just so that Mage could get some ground going, and then we would go back and talk about this one here also. Another dark secret. What an optimistic show. I want a PTSD hallucinator on my bridge. I mean, they could be the funnest one. You never know what they're going to say. I mean, I work on a dementia unit sometimes, and they say the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and you think optimistic show to be sarcastic, but we've had moments in other Star Trek shows which were not even showing optimism, but showing maybe a disregard for ethics. We've seen that in Enterprise, we've seen that in DS9. These things happen. So yeah.
And then Admiral just reiterating about Mbega's daughter. When he stored the kid in the transporter despite her pain and terminal condition, that came off cruel. Well, I mean, but you know what? Being a parent myself, sometimes we do stupid things to don't want to say prolong, but like protect our kids from death, even though something like death might be a more peaceful option for them. But I remember that episode, and I'm not saying what he did was really right, but I definitely understood his side of it, So
yeah, I mean, he did end up doing the right thing eventually. Yeah, he
well,
let
that's
her
because
go.
the opportunity presented itself where he could release her to aliens. I mean,
You have to also understand that he was a doctor, Admiral, who within himself felt that he had the opportunity to resolve the situation with his daughter, because if it was any of us three and we had a daughter who was in that situation, we wouldn't know what the fuck to do. I mean, him having the medical training, he thought he could resolve it.
Yeah, it's not like he was just holding her in the buffer just because. Like, he was actively working the problem.
He's a doctor.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was trying to fix her.
It wasn't even sketched at. It was
sketch.
It's
sketchy.
Sketch. It was totally wrong, and the aliens cured her, not him. He planned that. I don't think so. Okay, well,
he didn't plan that. It's just an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mage, take us to the what?
Continue, Mage.
I was gonna say, Mage, take us to the end of the episode, baby.
Take us home in the home stretch. So on the turbo lift, Uhura receives a signal that she starts interpreting. It's the black smoke again, but we get the reveal that vision is her family's shuttle crash, and she's confronted with this image, the first symbol of death that she can't make herself move past, and she symbolically takes a step forward into the cockpit of the crash shuttle, and she emerges out of the turbo lift onto the bridge. There she begins to explain to the captain everything that's going on, says that they have to destroy the station if they can't shut it down. He takes her word for it.
The funny thing is, the whole time I thought Una and Hocus Pocus was on that station the whole time. So
they are.
They're going to blow it up with them on it.
Una gets away, not Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's gone. How sad. So at first, this part kind of agitated me. I'm like, he's just going to take her word for it with absolutely no physical evidence. But then I remembered, I can't think of specific times, but I know that the captain's just taken people's harebrained last-minute ideas before, let them explain the course of action, and then order
he
people
himself,
to follow through on it.
You got to understand, Pike himself knows his future. I mean, that in itself is harebrained. To know your destiny. So who's he to argue regarding somebody else's bizarre interpretation of things, if you know what I mean?
Pike doesn't know his future. This is the first contact timeline. It could be different.
It's very true. All sorts of stuff could be different. So they order an evacuation of the refinery. Unfortunately, Hocus Pocus is one of the people who evacuates. They get everybody clear, and Uhura gives the order for them to fire photons. They blow up the station, and Uhura sees a living Hemmer this time, gets the final message from the aliens.
Oh man, I'll be honest with you, that moment, I almost teared up. Just seeing Hemmer going,
I miss Hemmer.
I miss Hemmer so much.
A smile from an Andorian. Good job. I mean, you done good, kid.
Enar, actually.
Whatever.
Actually, he's an Enar.
And you guys are penars. I mean, but nevertheless, nevertheless, it was just a very nice, touching moment, and it was the confirmation you needed that she resolved the situation. So yeah, Admiral Teague says she says enough about how bad it is to me, and Jailbird is any sane society. I get where you're coming from, but he is plain evil. I don't know about that, dude. He's a father trying to save his daughter, man. I can't say honestly. There's nothing plain evil about that.
Yeah, that's pretty hyperbolic.
Well,
Yeah.
Admiral's got a supporter in Daniel Vance. Mbega is a badmiral, just waiting for his promotion.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, if he's
He's got
if he is
trauma
playing
from
evil,
war, he would have actual motivation to end up as a bad faith admiral.
Actually, I meant
if
to
he's
ask you, and
yeah,
maybe I missed it last season, or what war was Mbega in?
The Klingon War.
the
Was he?
Klingon
Okay.
War in Discovery.
Okay.
Yeah. You're just playing. Oh, okay, or because you're Irish, mate, and that's what you Irish people do. And
Dare.
it's midnight. It's gone midnight now, so top of the morning to you. She paused at the door at door's death, not savable.
It's cruel.
Yeah, I get where I get where you're coming from, and you know, if the fact is that I'm seeing it from his perspective is what makes it different, you know, because the guy's a father, and the way they portrayed it is that she didn't look like she was in any pain. It looked like she was just in between sessions, so to speak. You know,
and he also Admiral also says Captain Pike, whose crew mocks his every order, which is why you guys love. We lost Mage, which is why you guys loved. Which is why you guys loved.
No, nothing about love here, mate. He's now fully captain, and what a dysfunctional.
No.
They're not a military. They're not a military dude. I mean, they have ranks, but they're explorers. You know.
Yeah, it's like the Peace Corps.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying like he's referencing the mocking of orders, which is Ortega's all last season, and you guys loved her so much.
No.
And you're muted, Zam.
Am I muted now?
No, you're not. You're not now. You're back.
You're back, baby.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Ortega's pissed me off a lot last season. The way she was like constantly mock Pike's orders and stuff like that, ridiculous. I mean, Pike comes across as probably the most easygoing captain of all captains I've ever seen in Star Trek. But yeah, come on, have some respect for an easygoing captain by not fucking mocking his orders. You're lucky you're such a great pilot because there seems to be only one great pilot in every fucking season of every Star Trek show. So anyway. What else do we have here? They are really in real Star Trek when I respect that you watch the show. I don't mean to, but I just watched that mess. What mess? Real.
I think
military.
he means the episode was a mess.
Okay, yeah, I get ya.
And I
they
mean,
have gel.
New Trek is not for everybody, as I said. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, for me, Strange New World, and I mean, I grew up with Next Generation, Deep Space Nine,
Okay,
Voyager, Captain Mommy Pants. So
they have gels for people who think like that, though. What does that mean?
I don't know. All right, Mage, take us home.
All right. So Pike says that Starfleet can build a new refinery elsewhere, someplace where there aren't deuterium aliens, and that he'll take any blowback from this decision that he gave the orders, even though he just kind of confirmed them. Uhura takes her station, and Pike orders the collection of all the escape pods, and to get him a call with Admiral Nagawa to send it to his private line, and then for her to go take a damn nap.
I just want to say something here. Look, I forgot where you are on Voyager, Mage, but I know for the fact that Jason beneath me, he doesn't fucking like Voyager. Not saying he hates it, but he doesn't like it. And I like Voyager. I fucking love Star Trek Voyager. I'm a big admirer of Star Trek Voyager. I don't get where all the hate comes from. I think it's a fantastic show. I really do, and it had so many great things that came from it as well. So
I know all the war crimes from Janeway and breaking the Prime Directive. Oh yeah,
just temporal Prime Directive is even
temporal Prime Directive.
She does not give a single fuck.
For a man who loves DS9 and all the shit that Cisco's done, and like you're having a go at Janeway, ridiculous.
Yeah. You've got a point there, Zam. I fall in the middle with Voyager. My wife loves it. She's in your camp, Zam. She's the one who got me to give it an honest shot. I don't hate it, but It's not
Oh
the
yeah, it's
best.
definitely, for me, it's lower tier. Here's my thing.
It's
I think
lower
it's about
tier,
it's about the character development, because what happens is that in the early seasons they were still getting their footing, and then by the time 7 of 9 came in, Chakotay, Harry Kim, even almost to a degree like Balana and Tom, although they did get some character development, they all kind of got thrown to the side, and then it was the Janeway, Seven, and Doctor show. And don't get me wrong, I like those characters, but that's all they focus on. And then Neelix was just like, and granted, Neelix has his issues, but like
Neelix is
Neelix
God
was just
Almighty. What a predator! Just grody.
Yeah.
The
whatever.
whole
You know what? No, there's an argument to be made there. Not that but still, her species only lives 9 years. So by the time she was 1, she would have already been like, what is it? I think it was like
20.
Yeah, like 20, 22. So technically, on a maturity level, she would technically be of age.
physically, but I just can't see you developing mentally at that accelerated a point. She doesn't have any experience to
For a
tell
human.
that he's a creepy.
So
Okay,
are you gonna call all
No.
gnats sexual predators, because they die within days,
And
but they
this,
still
by
have
the
to
way, Admiral,
procreate?
this is why we have fucking actor and writers and actor strikes, because we have goddamn 21 executive producers, wanting a piece of the pie, all
No.
trying to take most of the money and not paying the people that genuinely deserves to be paid for making these shows what they
21
are, the
executive
actors.
producers.
Yeah, when you got 21 executive producers, that's why actors are on strike. That's why writers are on strike, because these 21 motherfuckers are taking most of the goddamn money. You
No,
don't need 21 executive producers. You don't even need you don't even need 10. You 2 or 3 at the most. If anything, it's ridiculous. Like 21. Totally agree. Yeah.
So we get Una and Hocus Pocus on the shuttle, and we find out that Pelia gave Una a C when she took a class of hers at the academy, and that Una's acting like that's what the beef is about. Pelia says that it's not, and it's because she's dredging up the pain of Himmer's loss. And once again, she's trying to be the therapist, not the engineer. Just kind of odd.
Once again, this Hemmer shit should have been at the very beginning of the season, not halfway through it.
There's 10 executive producers on Strange New Worlds. Just, I mean, that's still too much. I agree with you, but I was just counting here. So,
nice hyperbole, though. I love it.
There never used to be that many producers for shows, but now like it's flooded, and there's too many people wanting too much of the cut. So.
Okay, I mean, you just give me. Admiral. Sorry, I'm not looking at or I'm not. I was going off of what was on the with Wikipedia and IMDb. 20. If you can throw me names, I would appreciate it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's what I found.
I would 21 producers and executive producers in general. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not surprised. I mean, all these mainstream shows, that's why Disney are in so much shit at the moment. With the writers' strike, because they're one of the people who are getting targeted the most because of all of this. 10 producers. Usually, it's usually usually the producers tend to be obviously people like your Kevin Feige's and your Bob Igers. And then after that, maybe like the leading actor. So I'm sure Samuel L. Jackson's an executive producer of Secret Invasion, maybe even Don Cheadle. So
Boss Man's favorite actor.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be talking about what we're going to do. Just so you know, regarding Secret Invasion, even though we've only done 1 or 2 episodes regarding a review of that show, I think what we're going to tend to do, we're going to do an end of season review or Secret Invasion. It'll be a lot easier for us. There's too much on the plate for all of us to do. So anyway, sorry, Mage.
All right, so on the Enterprise lounge, Uhura and Jim Kirk are looking at pictures of Uhura's family, something that she hasn't been able to do for the past 2.5 years. They discuss why she was chosen by the deuterium aliens. Ultimately, she thinks it's because she's a good listener. Sam Kirk arrives, and they have an awkward brother moment. He kind of does a half-assed apology where he says that he's proud of Jim, and but then he acts like he's expecting an apology and ends up huffing out when like Jim's like, "I'm not apologizing. All I did was be good at my job."
I mean,
Spock
and
walks
I
up.
agree with
Yeah.
Kirk, honestly. You can't.
Oh no, Jim's right in this instance, and
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, what the fuck's wrong with
Sam's a
you,
little
Sam?
baby. I don't know. He's
You're
messy
the
for
you're the
one
big
thing.
you're the big brother, mate. Calm your shit
He
and know
huffs off.
your role.
He leaves his
Yeah.
class. Spock walks up and busses it off, and it's like, yes, that guy is annoying. And they sit down and proceed to bond over hating Jim's brother, and we get the beginning of a legendary friendship. And that's our episode.
Well, I like the way that. By the way, I just want to say that it was really nice that Jim and Spock meet at a bar, and then just Jim, Spock, and Uhura, 3 of the 7 original crew members of TOS, sitting there. It was a very, very nice moment. Excuse me. Sorry, pardon me. Of those 3 sitting there at the bar, knowing that those are the original crew members. I like that a lot. That was a very nice way to end it.
Okay, are we gonna throw up the poll, Cheeto?
Oh, it's already ready to
It's
go.
already ready. Nice.
Hitting.
Kirk's sisters are insufferably petty. Kirk has sisters?
I think he.
Saying they're acting like girls with their bickering.
His sisters are acting like girls, huh? All right. Are we doing marks then?
Yep, let's do marks while
And
the
the
audience
poll's in the
votes.
chat, so anyone who wants to throw in their 2 cents and let us know what you voted in the chat.
Yep, let us know. We're here to find out what you guys think. So yeah, let's start with marks from Zam, then we'll go down to Cheeto, and I'll go last. Yes, look, marks are low to high.
Okay, so I'm still waiting for that below average episode of Strange New Worlds, and I don't think we've got one yet. I do think this is not their best episode, but I feel the payoff of this episode kind of saved it to a degree, as well as the Kirk moments as well, and meeting Spock and some of the connective jelly, so to speak, regarding this whole universe and timelines and all of that, and Spock and Kirk meeting and all of that. There was some interesting moments. It wasn't the best episode, but I'm still waiting for an episode that I don't like, genuinely don't like. This comes close to it, but it's just above average for me, just above, because of the connective tissues, the savior at the end, seeing Hemmer again, all of that. So I'm giving it a very generous 6 out of 10.
All right, STSP Woke Admins, what have you got for a mark and final thoughts?
I'm gonna probably go with Zam here. I'm gonna give it a 6. I did like I did like the sorry, I was over here counting executive producers in the intro.
That's why I love you, Cheeto. You're here to look the shit up for us while I talk.
Yeah, but I mean, I as Zam calls her, what was
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. I can't with her. I don't want her. I don't like her. I don't want an episode around her. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea, but whatever. I mean, there's people in our lives that we don't like and we find annoying for a reason. And so, I mean, I for Zam am that. I mean, I just annoy Zam to death. So,
No, you don't, dude. You're my yin to my yang.
I was kidding. Anyway,
Okay.
I broke back Mountain that shit with you.
Yes, you did.
Can't quit him.
Can't quit him. So anyway, back on track. I did like the interactions between Kirk and Uhura. I did like the interactions between Kirk and Sam. It was a nice little nod at the end with Uhura, Spock, and Kirk. It is really funny though, because we've seen Kirk a couple times in this show already. And this was the actual, like, in this show's main canon, it was the actual first meeting between Kirk and Pike. You know what I mean? Like, he was in the alternate future in last season, then he was with La'an from an alternate alternate reality. So it's like this is literally the first time he's stepped foot on the actual Enterprise. So
I like the subtlety of it, like just having a drink at a bar. Like it doesn't have to be this grand meeting of these two lifelong friends. Just meet at a bar and that's it. That's how they met, and I'm totally fine with the simpleness of it.
And I just want to throw this out here right here. Something that me and Major Rage and probably Zam are going to talk about in the future. Tony producers and how many continuity errors.
Yeah, too many pies, too many fingers in the too many cooks.
If you're talking about continuity with the main canon, actually, I know for me 100%. I know Mage is, I think, on board with my theory too. Is that Strange New Worlds is in a different timeline?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, with Discovery and Enterprise, and it's called the First Contact timeline. Everything
Discovery.
Discovery's involved in that too, because obviously Strange New Worlds is tied into Discovery. So Strange New Worlds.
Okay, I thought you meant it was different to Discovery. Sorry.
No. Strange New Worlds, Discovery, and Enterprise are all a part of that First Contact timeline. I mean, Admiral, you're probably right. There probably is a new timeline every episode, but I feel like we're at a point now where it's like if the Canonites are, and that's what I call them, the Canonites, if they're going to get this upset about them updating the aesthetics of like the bridge and stuff like that from the 60s, we might as well make a new timeline. Like, fan films are your way to go. Go to the Avalon universe, go to the Menardverse, No Budget Productions. They have the original sets from TOS on their stuff. That is your canon right there. They have,
and I agree with you as well, because regarding all the different timelines and stuff like that, I think it makes total sense. Just a couple of comments here regarding Admiral Teague. He actually gave this a 1. 1 is the lowest, yeah, and he wants negative numbers, but unfortunately it's a 1. If that's the case, better than last week, Daniel Vance says. But
currently in the chat, it is a 6-7. So, Admiral, you need to put your vote up there, because right now it looks like 6-7 is winning.
Need more season. I mean, there was a lot of in this episode, a lot of like previously on Star Trek. This happened. This happened. This happened. This happened. This happened. Like, shut the fuck up. Leanne and Kirk FaceTime 2 weeks ago and have an attraction. The show forgot that they introduced themselves to each other this week. No. Like they were too busy doing a job than trying to fucking flirt with each other. So I disagree. 21 producers. Yeah, we'll mention that regarding too many cooks.
Too many Kirks on the bridge.
You say too many hands in the pot, too many cooks on the dish, and you might get told you don't know what you're talking about. Though,
if it's timeline accurate, Pike took 8 months off. And sorry, what I was going to also say, what I forgot to say is that even though this is a different timeline, there are certain things even in the alternative timeline where it will match up and line up with the original timeline. Like, Pike possibly could be destined for the chair. He might not, and if he doesn't, then you're in a different timeline for sure. I mean, I already think we're on a different timeline regarding what's happened with Khan. I mean, that in itself must prove that we're in a different timeline.
Yeah, I mean, because that was in the 2020s or something. At least that's what it seemed like.
The fact that there's a noonien-singh on board the Enterprise, that Uhura and James T. Kirk now knows.
Kirk.
Yeah, they all know about now. So like, what the fuck? Forget the aesthetic. These people, their own story week to week. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, exactly. I don't mind. I don't mind different timelines. I just wish Star Trek itself would try not to align itself with everything that's going on in our timelines to make it seem like that is our genuine future from where we are now as a society. It doesn't have to be.
It's an alternate past. Like, it doesn't like.
Yeah.
I felt like they did not have to change the eugenics wars to later, just because we've passed the 90s and it's not happened. Like, you could have made it that the eugenics wars happen. I mean, society continues on after wars. Society rebuilds. The world, it's not like a nuclear winter where like World War III. We haven't hit there yet. You know, like the eugenics wars were just wars, and the world would have moved on and rebuilt.
I just want to comment here. I voted. Some people are easily pleased. What can I say? Well, you know, for an episode that wasn't that great, and at the same time wasn't terrible, I'm willing to give Strange New Worlds a pass, so to speak, because I think this show, I think Strange New Worlds is the best of the Kurtzman era, outside of possibly Lower Decks. But when it comes to maybe like harboring the ethics of Star Trek, then Strange New Worlds is definitely the best Star Trek of the
Admiral, we
era.
have someone we want you to meet. Join us tomorrow for our World's Gone Insane podcast. Your man is Ginger Greek, not very easily pleased, my friend.
And so, by the way, there's a guy in this chat right now who's not easily pleased. His name is Daniel Vance.
That is true, Daniel Vance. Yeah.
If you want more original,
we love
Trek,
you guys,
and
but we're gonna call it like
and
it is.
Never Seen Phase 2, I suggest a YouTube search after the stream ends. Oh no, my bird. Watch the end of the episode. Connie calls Kirk up. Connie?
He means Lon. And yeah, then they mentioned that this episode, he's like, yeah, you called me up. You still owe me that drink. They referenced that this episode.
You still owe me that booty call. And you can't blame him. This series has several of the OGs.
Hot.
Yeah, all the women are hot. You know what I mean? So and many of the scrap storylines we never saw from TOS. Okay. Do you think Ortega's still mocks Pike after the accident? Yeah. No, she won't. I mean,
I think they learned their lesson from season 1 in the writing room about writing Ortegas like that.
She's calmed down a lot this season, to tell you the truth. She's not as quippy. I'll give you that.
You're like, oh, you think that Ortega's is bad? Well, we'll back her off a little bit. Here's Hocus Pocus.
Right.
Yeah.
They doubled down on that bullshit.
I'll be honest with you. I'm still waiting for that Ortega's episode. We still haven't got it yet. She never got her episode last season.
Wow. She kind of had one last week.
No, she hasn't had her proper episode. Like an episode fully.
She's Ortega's and she can fly the
ship.
Yeah, there's more. Because that particular episode affected everybody on the ship. It'll be interesting to see, and those are my favorite episodes of Star Trek where it's focused on everybody. Like the episode of TNG when everybody lost their minds and they lost their memories and they're trying to find out who they were.
Good one.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, all right. You want to sign us off, Mage?
Sure.
What did you give it, by the way?
I am going to give it a 4.
Wow.
I think that might be my low mark ever. I think that might be my lowest mark. I had a hard time making myself keep watching this week.
Yeah, if Carol King didn't sound like she smoked 40 a day and didn't sound like she drank red wine for a living, she might not be so annoying, but the problem is sometimes it's just hard to understand her. So
what are you talking about? I talk like this and everybody should understand me.
You know what? The funny thing is, if they made her look like an alien and spoke like that, I think people would have loved her. But the fact that she looks human and she speaks, even though she's not, and she looks like that.
Yeah, no, they go back to the trope of, well, most aliens look like humans.
Yeah.
Not even give her a prosthetic. But no, I want to thank everybody that's come to the chat tonight. Thanks for engaging with us, talking with each other, letting us know your thoughts about the episode. It wouldn't be worth doing this if you guys weren't here, and we appreciate every last single one of you. If you've liked tonight's discussion, consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. We do all sorts of nerdy content here on NerdTube. DCEU, MCU, sports entertainment. Zam does food reviews. He likes gangster shows and likes to talk about them. But our current new hotness is the Friday night, The World's Gone Insane, Let's Chat About It podcast, where we all just kind of get together, we come and go and talk about various events that have happened in the week, things that we've got to bug up our butt about, and whatever you guys want to talk about. And we all just kind of get together for a few hours and we discuss whatever. So looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, some of the topics will be definitely the writer's strike. We'll be talking about that more in depth for sure, as well as a soccer player who was thrown under the bus by everyone a couple of years ago for being a paedophile, but he is found out to be innocent, and he's been acquitted and not guilty, and now everyone's kissing his ass, and rightfully so, because he's not a paedophile. And we'll be talking about that. His name is Benjamin Mendy, formerly of Manchester City. We'll be talking about him as well, seeing where do you go as a person who is acquitted but was actually tarnished with the brush of being a paedophile and being found out in the court of law that you're not. How does your life go about after that? Do you still have that tarnish, even though you've been proven innocent in the court of law? We'll be talking about that for sure.
That's sure to be an interesting discussion. That's going to be a hot button one. That's going to be fun. So yeah, consider giving the channel a subscribe. All the notifications of any time we're going live or posting fan film reactions or topic videos or other.
I can't wait for that one, Admiral. Honestly, it's gonna be good. Lower Decks, come on, man. It's gonna be fun, man. Lower Decks is awesome. And you know, as Star Trek fans,
next week,
we live for crossovers, man. I live for crossovers. I'm crossover, Zam, the man, Haram the Baker.
All right, well, we're going to sign off now.
How dare you?
Again. No, yep, I thought that too. It's like, well, thank you for subscribing, Admiral. We're glad to have you here. Welcome to the fold. And you've been watching NerdTube, the best channel that you've maybe kind of sort of heard of. Live long and prosper, and good evening.
Adios.